Hola muchachos! Today we are going to be learning a new part of the subjunctive. What we're going to be looking at today is the second component of formation. So in our last chapter we looked at regular subjunctive formation, irregular yo verbs, our highly irregular dishes verbs, and our kar-gar-zar verbs. Well, today what we're going to be focusing on is our stem changing verbs. So, follow along please in your packets. Please fill in anything that is in yellow in your guided note sheet, please. We are going to look now at first class stem changing verbs. Okay, so the name really isn't so important, but what matters most is that we understand that these types of verbs are only the verbs that are AR or ER. And they take a traditional change, E to IE, U to UE, and O to UE in the boot. You can see on the right hand side of the screen here, I drew the diagram with the circles to show you that this is where the change will occur in the traditional boot. If you look at comenzar, okay, before I even read through the conjugations, I just want you to know that ojo, this verb is loaded. It is a kar-gar-zar verb and it is a stem changer. So you really have to make sure that you watch out for both changes. The kar-gar-zar change occurs in all 6 forms, as we learned last chapter. So CE, 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 CE up here, CE in vosotros, CE in ellos. And then it takes the E to IE change in the boot only the boot. So our forms are comience, comiences, comience, comencemos, comencéis, and comienzan. So now you have a large collection of verbs that we need to go through and do a practice conjugation for. We are going to do the yo form of the subjunctive for all of these verbs. Perder. Oops, I did that one wrong. Pierda, pierde. Oops, excuse me, pierda. There we go. Now it's correct. Okay, entender, entienda. Contar, cuente. Encontrar, encuentre. Volver, vuelva. Envolver, envuelva. Cerrar, cierre. Pensar, piense. Acostarse, this is a reflexive, so you conjugate with the se in front, but it has to agree. Now we're making it the yo form, so it'll change to a me. Me acueste. Muestre. Defienda, from defender. Querer goes to quiera. Almorzar is a double trouble verb. We got to watch out for these. It's a kar-gar-zar verb. That change occurs in all 6 forms, plus it is a stem changer, O to UE. Almuerce. Poder, pueda. Despertarse, it's another reflexive verb. Change the se to a me to put it in front. Me despierte. Sentarse, same idea. Me siente. Costar, cueste. Recordar, recuerde. Empezar, another double trouble verb. Empiece. Jugar, double trouble verb. Juegue. Devolver, devuelva. Okay, so remember, boot change for verbs that are AR and ER. Now, the IR verbs is where it gets a little tricky. Okay, we have second class verbs that are IR, and then we have third class verbs that are IR. What is the difference? The second class verbs are the ones that traditionally take a double vowel change. They traditionally change E to IE, I to IE, or O to UE in the boot. However, now that we're in the subjunctive, they are going to take a single vowel change. E to I to I, O to U, okay, in the nosotros and vosotros forms. The other forms, which we traditionally know as the boot, will keep that traditional double vowel change. So let's look at our example of preferir. Goes E to I-E, E to I-E, E to I-E, E to I-E. But hold up, now let's go to nosotros. E to I in vosotros. That's why here in this diagram on the right-hand side, I showed with circles in the boot that takes the double vowel change, and I did the stars in nosotros vosotros to show that that is going to take a totally different change. That's our single vowel change. So what are some of the verbs that follow this pattern? Remember, they're only IR verbs that follow this. We have dormir, duerma, morir, muera, sentirse. Again, we're doing these all in the yo form, so the se goes to a me and goes in front. Me sienta, mentir, mienta, referir, refiera, divertirse, me divierta. Okay, now let's take a look at our third class stem changing verbs. Again, as I said, these are IR verbs, but these are unique in that they only ever used to take a single vowel change, E to I, and they still will take that change in the boot and now in nosotros and now in vosotros. That's why on the right-hand side I have my chart I showed with circles. All 6 forms will take the same change, E to I. What's our example? Pedir, pida, pidas, pida, pidamos, pidais, pidan. Let's look at some examples. Vestirse, me vista. Seguir, it's an irregular yo and a stem changer. Siga. Conseguir is very similar. It obviously has the same root. Consiga. Repetir, repita. Servir, sirva. Reír. This one trips people up, but don't get too confused. It just goes E to I, that's all. Ría. Sonreír, sonría. Elegir, this is a tricky one. Not only does it take a stem change, but it also is an irregular yo with that J. Elija. And despedirse, me despida. So now you might be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to remember which one takes 2 different types of changes and which one takes all one change? Well, memorization. I recommend you now start making flashcards for all of the verbs on this paper. See if you can categorize which ones are first class changers, which ones are second class changers, and which ones are third class changers. I've said it before and I make this recommendation again. Use the off nights that you don't get assigned a homework to take some time to do some studying. I'd recommend you make flashcards or some other study guide to help you learn which verbs fall into which categories. Okay, now we're going to watch a video about this.
Wherever you go in your Spanish learning adventures, you'll run into stem-changing verbs, and the subjunctive is no exception.
AR and ER verbs change their stems like this: O to UE and I to IE. Notice they have a stem change in all forms except nosotros and vosotros.
The endings for AR verbs and ER verbs in the subjunctive flip-flop. AR verb endings are es, hemos, eis, and en. So, recordar becomes yo recuerde. ER verb endings are a, as, amos, ais, and an. So, perder becomes yo pierda. Flip-flop.
She prefers that they eat at the table. Ella prefiere que coman en la mesa. I suggest that you come home now. Sugiero que volváis a casa ahora.
IR stem-changing verbs have the same endings as ER stem-changing verbs. A, as, a, amos, ais, an. There are three types of IR stem-changing verbs: E to IE, O to UE, and E to I.
IR stem-changing verbs are tricky verbs. Take my advice. Watch out or they will fool you. And then there will be nothing to cheer about.
All right, team. E to IE verbs do a double stem change. Woo! Yeah! They change inside the boot and outside the boot. Inside the boot changes to IE. Outside the boot changes to I. Inside IE, outside I. Ready, team? Let's do divertir. Divierta, diviertas, divierta, divirtamos, divirtáis, diviertan. Woo!
Bring on the O-to-UE verbs like dormir. We've got that inside the boot, outside the boot thing working again here. Inside the boot changes to UE, outside the boot changes to U. Take a look at dormir. Duerma, duermas, duerma, durmamos, durmais, duerma.
In the subjunctive, IR verbs that change from E to I are even trickier, so be careful. We can take our trusty old boot verb concept and throw it out the window.
Look at pedir in the subjunctive. E changes to E in all forms of the verb, even in the nosotros and vosotros forms. Pida, pidas, pida. Pidamos, pidáis, pidan.
It's the same with servir, another IR verb. Sirva, sirvas, sirva, sirvamos, sirvais, sirvan. All the E's change to I's. Goodbye, boot. Hello, snowshoe.
Es malo que tú no duermas. It's bad for you to not sleep.
Prefiero que pidamos algo ahora.
I prefer that we order something now.
Prefiere que usted cierre la puerta. She prefers that you close the door.
Es importante que nosotros empecemos la prueba. It's important that we begin the quiz.
Complete the sentences with the correct subjunctive form of the verb.
Dormir. Es importante que tú, por la noche. Es importante que duermas por la noche. Pedir. ¿Quieren que nosotros la cena ahora? ¿Quieren que pidamos la cena ahora? Preferir. Es bueno que ellos la artesanía. Es bueno que prefieran la artesanía.